Hi, I'm Tim Eskew.
And I'm Amanda Stradling. We are East Valley Leader Lab, and this is our podcast, Mind and Body at Work.
Wellness, well-being, and mindfulness are trending right now as organizations try to attract and retain the best talent in this tumultuous post-COVID world. At the Leader Lab, we agree these are important concepts and overdue for being fully utilized in the workplace.
We also believe that these concepts only work when you treat the mind and body as a whole. We are excited to be part of a societal shift in attention toward the whole person. We invite you to join us as we begin to look broadly and deeply at wellness, well-being, and mindfulness in the workplace. Hello, welcome to Mind and Body at Work. I'm Amanda Stradling with Tim Eskew. We are the East Valley Leader Lab. We are so excited today. We have a special guest, Aaron Leatherbarrow. Known to his 600,000 social media followers as the Punk Rock Teacher. He has had a really fascinating career as an educator, among many other things, and he leads with radical empathy. So that's something we really are excited to discuss. He's the head of a growing nonprofit called the Punk Rock Teacher Initiative, and we just can't wait to dive in. So let's get started. All right, so Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about your unique approach to teaching and how you became known as the Punk Rock Teacher?
Yes, I can. So basically, I started in education as a music teacher, which a lot of people don't know. Everybody thinks I've been teaching English forever, but I was actually a kindergarten through 8th grade English teacher or music teacher for a minute. And that's when I had the accolades here in Duval County, where I won Teacher of the Year for my school, and then ended up winning Teacher of the Year in all of Duval County as a Spotlight Award winner. It was wild, but I was a music teacher back then, and I was dealing with the little bits, and I was seeing all of these kind of things. And I was a resource teacher. Now, a resource teacher is very different than a math teacher or an ELA teacher or whatever, where they are kind of pushed to the side and forgotten and not invited to the meetings. And they were just kind of oh, you're just the music teacher. You don't have to worry about this. And I literally was once told by an assistant principal, my second year being a music teacher, where they were I was hey, do we need to come to that? And they said, actually, the resources don't matter. And I was wow. And I think that it was just off the cuff, they weren't meant, they didn't mean to actually say what they said. But as a listener, I was holy shit, oh, profanity. I should probably ask about that.
What's our stance on that, Tim?
Let's
give a listener warning. Hey, guys, there's a little bit of profanity in this.
I mean, I am the punk rock teacher. I don't know what to tell you. I definitely embrace the entire English language. I'll be wise though. Anyway, so
you're fine.
I was just blown away at the audacity to look at a teacher, an award-winning teacher, and say, "What you do doesn't matter." And I don't know. So I get this question a lot about what inspires you or what has made you the kind of educator you are. And I don't have a lot of teachers that do what I do that I look up to. What I do have is this rebellious nature that sees how horrible education is right now and think, well, I sure as hell am not doing that. So whatever they're doing, I'm not going to do that. And I got to figure out a way. And so I would go home at night after and just be we're not teaching kids anymore. We're just teaching tests. How on earth can I fix this? And that really became a core value in education, especially the way I teach was you know what? I don't think I really care about what the district or what administration or what all of those people want. I think what I actually care about is what the student wants. And you would think that that's common in education. It's not.
Yeah, lots of stakeholders
so there
in
you
education.
Go.
That's awesome.
A scary amount. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. So something else I've been really impressed with as I've been following you is the way you really are caring about the students. You focus on them. And part of that started out with having a pantry in your classroom, the Punk Rock Pantry. Can we hear a little bit about that and how it got started, what that means to you?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, like to the caring about the student and meeting their needs first. Believe it or not, the pantry was kind of like the last thing I did, actually. So like my TikTok channel and my internet fame and all of that kind of stuff all stemmed from as being an English teacher. I so I have a I don't know if you've seen when you've looked at a lot of my content, the when I read the essay from the
Yes.
student. Have you seen that before?
Yes, that's something I
Of course you have.
absolutely loved because you were holding space for their stories, which I thought was so cool. And then
Exactly.
I heard about the pantry later. So yeah, tell us all about that.
So really, putting the student first, honestly, was less about the pantry and honestly more about listening to their story. It started at like a Christian private school. That's when I started becoming an English teacher, and I was just like blown away at how like silenced these high school students felt. Like that they weren't allowed to talk about what they really felt. And I could see this massive disconnect. And so I was just like, you are not, none of this is real. Everything that you're giving me, yeah, it's educationally sound. These are really smart kids, but none of it's real. And frankly, everything that you're writing sucks. I mean, maybe you could get like maybe like educational circles might like what you're saying, but coming from someone who really reads and actually writes, this is horrible. I hate reading it. You hate writing it. What the hell are we doing here? So I just had this like wake up moment where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And this is going back to this like rebellious nature where I'm like, I don't like I hate reading your writing. Like I hate it. It's the worst part of my day. It's terrible. It's boring. The structure sounds, your vocabulary's fine. All of that's fine. Like all of your grammar and sentence structure, blah, blah, blah. It's all fine, but no one's going to read this. Like no one wants to read it. Nobody. Like, I don't want to read it. Your next teacher doesn't want to read it. Your college admissions office isn't going to want to read it. It's all horrible, And so I was
And
just like, let's start with, sorry, go ahead.
So
I was
you
just
were
gonna say,
looking for honesty and authenticity and maybe even some vulnerability there, right?
So I didn't know how to do it. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just curious that when you talk about the writing and the problem with it, you talking about the students' writing or the textbooks that you're teaching from,
Yes.
or both? Both. Okay.
Both. Absolutely both of them. So like the textbooks, I felt like were lying. Like I had taught history for a little bit. I'm like, oh, so none of this is real. And then I was looking at like the English textbooks and I'm like, this is all just kind of propaganda, and then I'm like, what is happening? This is such a weird thing. This is ELA. This is like number one or number two of all of education, and it's worthless. Like it's not doing anything. We're teaching them a bunch of rhetoric that doesn't matter, and we're not teaching them at all how to write, like how to take, this, their heart, to this, their mind, to this, their pen. Like if you can't make those connections, that's terrible writing. And so like I was just noticing and I'm like, you know what? Okay. So I just got really frustrated one night. I was in the middle of going through a terrible breakup and I was just like, you know what? And I had this moment where I was like, okay, guys, I don't want to read what you're writing. You don't want to write what you're writing. What if we switched the grade? And instead of it being, I'm going to grade your writing and your grammar and blah, blah, blah. What if I just gave you a participation grade? Because I got to grade it, but like, what if I just said, you did it, here's your grade. And what if I didn't read what you wrote? And what if you could write anything that you want to write? What if it could literally be anything? What if it could be like the way that you text your friends? What if it could be that, but it was just for you? So let's just try it today because I'm in a bad mood and I don't want to do any of this. And so I was like, I'm afraid of being alone because of what I'm going through right now. So like, what are you afraid of? And I literally just wrote it on the whiteboard. What are you afraid of? And I said, and don't give me bullshit answers like spiders. I don't want to read that. Nobody cares. Obviously, we're a little bit, but like, I want you to think for a second, what are you really afraid of? And write 3 to 5 sentences, and you do you. And I don't care if you're on your phone. I'm going to go. And frankly, I don't want to like deal with class right now. And I just said all of this in the front of class. And I was just like, so you do that and then hold up your paper and show me your little 3 to 5 sentences and I'll put a 100 in the grade book. Like, I just don't care. What I would really like is a human freaking moment. Like, if I could just have a human moment with you, that would be awesome. Well, that went over well, and they loved it, and they were writing furiously upon the paper, and then they wanted to do it the next day, and then the next day, and then that one question turned into a 5-paragraph essay that they wrote Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then 20% of them loved what they wrote so much they wanted me to read it. And I was like, okay. So then I read it, and y'all, it was next level amazing. And so then I'm like, on the back of it, I'm like, this is so great. I love you so much. Thank you so much, blah, 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 blah. And then I take the best one and I handed it back to the student. And I was like, this is incredible. And thank you. And I love you. And here's your one. And she was like, oh, okay. You know, she seemed very like disassociated. And she's like, did I get 100? And I'm like, yeah. And then she takes it and goes like this and throws it away. And I'm sitting there, guys, like, what the fuck just happened? Sorry. And she's like, it is like in the trash can. And I'm looking at it like, that could have been published. This is better than anything I read, you know, whatever. So I pick it up and I'm like, what? She's like, if I got the 100, who cares? And I'm like, I care. Like, I care. And I think a lot of people would care. This is the most beautiful thing. And she's like, well, do whatever you want with it. So then I have to tackle that question. Do whatever I want with it? I have no idea. So then it goes to, you should share that on TikTok. A friend of mine said, and I was like, what the hell is TikTok? Not knowing that, you know, a year and a half later it would like literally become my career. But so the next like 2 days later, I read it on TikTok. It made, I think, 14,000 views the very first day. Then I had to like get intellectual properties. I had a lawyer contact. It was like a whole thing. So then they're like signing consent forms. And then not only that, then all the students are like, wait, you're reading this on, and then they see that it's blowing up and people are commenting and empathizing. And it's like, wait, what? Oh my God. And so then then the whole thing changed. So that became the new kind of writing in my class, was like introspective, truthful writing where you could write anything for participation grades. And if you didn't want to turn it in, you didn't have to. And it was just absolutely beautiful. Fast forward 2 years, I'm in a completely new school. I've got hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. And then I'm writing all of this and I'm so happy with this thing. And then I'm seeing some kids are still not paying attention, even though they know how much I care about their stories. And then I find out, holy shit, 20% of these students are homeless and they're not even eating. And then I'm like, how common is this? And y'all, it's everywhere all the time. And then there's another giant story, and I can tell it if you'd want, but I feel like it would take so much time, is I found out, you know, that these kids are not eating. Like, I was given there's a company called Leatherbarrow, and
yes,
I had a lot, and I would have a lot of them in my, my desk drawer for when I forgot my lunch, you know, and I just knew that this one kid, I saw him sleeping under a bridge with his family one time, and I was like, driving to school, I saw him like walk away from under the bridge, and I was like, oh shit, that's my student, you know, like, whew. So then I just like, I was like, dude, I was like, hey, I don't know if you got dinner tonight, but here, take a couple of these, you know, whatever. And that's what it turned into. Well, there's a long story there into a very short story, which is the Punk Rock Teacher Pantry was born.
Yeah,
fantastic.
That's wonderful. And that is a problem everywhere. I substitute teach some here in Mesa, Arizona, and I always bring a box of something to feed the kids because I almost feel like I'm insulting them a little bit when I'm passing out worksheets and expecting them to have the cognitive function to focus when I know they're just hungry. So yeah, I always pack something. But when I heard about you keeping this whole stocked little cabinet in your classroom, I thought that was so impressive.
And honestly, I'm not going to think that I'm Mr. Creative here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just curious. I want to step back, then we can go forward again. When you started making these radical changes in the classroom, were there parental reactions? Were there administrative reactions? Was there backlash, or was there support? What did you experience?
I got immediately fired. Like, of course there was backlash. When does authority and administration like to be questioned? Yeah, no, I was immediately, this was a Christian private school. One thing that Christian private schools like is control. And when they saw that they did not have control over what I did, immediately I was let go. Like, I mean, immediately. It was terrible. And so then, of course, now it's interesting because then they started getting fearful. You know, like, here's this guy that's got hundreds of thousands. What if he smears our name or something like that? You know, and that's just not me. I'm not that kind of a guy. So again, it all comes back to, like, you guys are acting like I'm anti. I don't care about you. It's not that, like, I'm like anti you. It's just there's bigger things at stake here, which are the students. So don't think for 1 second this is about you. You don't mean anything to me. Like, frankly, you're just an old teacher that got tired and wanted to make $7,000 more a year. So you sat in a different chair and started doing a lot less and started telling us what to do. Well, that just makes you irrelevant to me. Like, sorry, it's not that I'm anti or hate you or anything. You mean nothing to me. Like, it's just, you can go over there, collect your extra $7,000 and gain a lot of weight and be depressed. And I'm going to actually worry about students. Like, I'm sorry, like that's just what I'm going to do. And so as soon as I have that, you want backlash? Hell yeah, man. Immediately fired, went to a new school. I only worked there for a year and a half because even though they acted super progressive and wanted me to do all this stuff, when they're like, well, we need you to be certified as whatever. I'm like, no, I let that certification go. And they're like, why would you do that? I'm like, because I don't believe in standardized testing and I'm not going to bring that negative energy into my class. And they were like, well, you're the English teacher. And I'm like, that's not my problem. Testing is your problem. My problem is teaching them English, which I will do. And not only did I do that, but the testing scores in the class that I did had a 20% increase, a 20% gain, which is unheard of. But it was because I was actually teaching them English. Well, the fact that I wouldn't administer the test, that I wouldn't go and get that certification, that I wouldn't comply with administration, they were like, I'm sorry, we can't handle you back. And that was just a few months ago, to where, like, the school that was like, no, we love who you are. You can do whatever you want. We want you to do that. Well, until you don't. And it all comes down to, if they don't have control over what you're doing in the classroom, they don't want you to work there. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how good your test scores increase. It doesn't matter your social media follow. It doesn't matter at all. It comes down to, if they don't feel like they have control, they will let you go.
And have you found an environment where they'll give you the freedom to do what you believe in?
No, and I don't think that it exists.
Okay.
And so what ended up happening is this is kind of bringing into the future. After all of the success online, and after the Punk Rock Pantry, and after all of this, I just sat for a minute away from the schools, away from my channel. I just needed a moment. You know what I mean? And I just needed a moment with my girls. I have 3 daughters, and I just wanted to sit and remember, like, okay, got back into therapy and was like, I need to think about this again. Before I brave going into another classroom, before I do what do I really, really want to do? And at that point, like, the Punk Rock Pantry was so successful. Like, there were so many people, like hundreds of thousands of people, donating thousands of dollars to the Punk Rock teacher. And I was like, we need to make this a business, because this is not about me. This is about giving it back to the students. And then people were like, you should make it into a nonprofit. I'm like, what the hell is that? I don't know how to do that. And then they were like, oh, I can help you. I'm certified in doing a 501c3. And I'm like, what the hell is a 501c3? You know, like, and I'm like, I don't know what any of you people are talking about, but what I do know is this: I will do anything that cares about the student first. And if that's what we can do, then I want to do anything. So then it was like, how can I really do this? Well, then it just took a little bit of time and a little bit of creativity. And now I've parlayed my life into 3 different career paths that I have just created the job description. Like, there is no boss. There is no whatever. And so I almost like volunteer, but I'm like a substitute mentor teacher at one school that's like a Waldorf education school, which I guess is like really popular. I don't even know what the hell it is, but they really wanted me to be a part of this new hippy dippy kind of school. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I just don't care about any of that stuff. What I care about is actually the student. And they were like, okay, well, we'll give you this. We'll do this. I'm like, okay, dude, I don't want a full-time job here. And they're like, well, we'll give you this if this is your kind of school. I said, no, 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 no. I don't want a full-time job here. Let me write up an idea. And so I just created this. I'll come once a week. I'll teach 1 hour to all of your students to creative writing. And I don't want you to hand me a curriculum. I'll take care of the curriculum. But I promise it'll be Florida Standard certified, and it will be student-centered, and it will teach empathy, and it will teach writing, and it will teach cognitive development, like whatever. And he's like, absolutely 100% we'll make it work. And I'm like, okay, I can't believe that. And so then I was like, all right, well, I still kind of need a steady income. I have to pay child support. I have I'm a normal dude like all of us. And so then I was like, well, I need something of a full-time position. Well, I also did like 8 weeks during the summer. I would run a summer camp for really privileged kids in Ponte Vedra Beach at a country club, and I would teach them how to surf and how to paddleboard. And basically, a lot of these kids have absent fathers, obviously, because they're out making. So none of these kids have parents that actually want to be with them. And so they're like, can we please just drop off our kids so we can drink and gossip and all of that kind of stuff? And I'm like, yes, I would love to show love to kids. That's exactly what I would like to do. So then I became kind of the youth and families activities director at this country club, now year wide, as long as I provide good opportunities for the kids to come, and where I teach them skills and do tutoring and teaching them still how to surf and that kind of stuff. And so that became a full-time position. But I said, but I'm never coming into an office ever. I don't want to ever have an office. I don't want to have to come to meetings. I don't want to have to tell you what I'm doing with my time. I just want to set up moments for kids to have a blast and to feel the love of a human adult in their life. And they're like, yes, we'll do that. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
So then now we've got income taken care of. Now we've got teaching taken care of. Now I have time. What am I going to do with time? And that's where the Punk Rock Teacher Initiative came in, where I said, okay, well, now I have this massive following of people who want to see change in education. They want to see students fed. They want to see students taken care of. And they want to see bringing this idea of caring about the student and empathizing and truly loving one another in a classroom as humans. What if we could bring that back into the classroom? And so then I designed this whole nonprofit of the Punk Rock Teacher that was like, I will come to your school. I will teach your teachers how to actually care about their students again. Not saying that they don't. There's such a difference there. And I need you to hear those words, because it's not that they don't care. It's that they haven't really learned as teachers how to care for students within an educational system that's designed to not care about students. But there are ways to do it, and I want to teach you how to do it. And a lot of that comes from storytelling. A lot of that comes from listening. A lot of that comes from just allowing a space for students to feel safe. And sometimes that means making a very radical change to your classroom like I did. And sometimes it also means providing assignments that are not 100% standardized, but allow a little bit of humanity. So I teach teachers how to do that during a professional development. And then afterwards, then I assess the needs of the student when it comes to hunger and hygiene. And then we provide them their own Punk Rock Pantry, but we have local organizations that fund it, to where the teachers are not responsible, the district is not responsible, the administration is not responsible, but local organizations are going to help fund and supply all of these things in this Punk Rock Pantry at this new school for the entire time. and it's already successful. We're doing a school in Las Vegas. It's an elementary school, and I don't necessarily have permission to give their names yet, but it's a beautiful elementary school that's a Title I, very low income, very needy school outside of Las Vegas. I'm going there in September. There's another school in Tacoma, Washington that I'm going to in October, and this is taking off and it's becoming nationwide. And because I now have the flexibility of time and the passion and 600,000 people behind me, well, let's go. Then let's do it. I'm not afraid. My goodness, let's go. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah, nice. I'm gonna change tacks a little. Any other
Sure.
follow-ups on that before?
No, that's wonderful.
Okay.
I
So-
can feel the passion.
Yeah, and
Yeah, thank you.
one of the reasons I can imagine Amanda was attracted to your show is because we're working with leaders and organizations, and we have also found that they haven't thought about the importance of care. What do they care about, and how are they bringing that in, and how are they communicating with their people about what they care about, so we can connect these cares. And so I see that coming through really strongly with you, and it aligns so well with what we're trying to do as well.
Yeah, that's the title of our first course, What Do I Really Care About? And how you have to sit in your body for a while and listen and really get in touch with that. And that's how you start to lead and create change once you've really gotten in touch with that care. So that's an important part of our curriculum as well.
And then there's the well-being piece, and obviously you know that sounds like it's the heart of your pantry project. And I just wonder, as you're going around the country supporting this and being the leader of this, how do you talk about the relationship between well-being and learning?
Oh, I don't think learning comes until there's well-being. We can break that down to Maslow and his hierarchy of needs. That's really there is Amanda was just saying, how I can't hand them a worksheet if I know that they're not, that's the cornerstone. If they're not healthy, whether that's mind or body or soul, if something is wrong, there's no learning. There's absolutely no learning, because the hierarchy of their need is not met. And that is where their mind is. Whether that's I'm hungry, or whether that's I'm anxious, you know what I mean? Or whether that's I'm just uneasy in who I am. If any of those questions are there, that's first and foremost. And I'm sorry, but learning doesn't come until needs are met.
Absolutely.
Agree. Just wanted to know how you speak about it with folks, and how do they? I mean, is it so obvious that they're just like, of course, let's do it, or is there any pushback on that?
Bro, everything I do is pushback. There's nothing I do that doesn't get 100 people why? Well, I have to do this, and I have to have a paycheck, and I have to listen to my admin, and I blah blah. I can't wear nail polish. I don't want to. It's okay, we got it. All right, just say bah, and it means the same thing to me. I don't really care. I'm so sorry, but I'm also not going to back down with the truth and with passion. I will listen. I will love you for who you are. But if you think that for 1 second that what you're teaching is more important than where they're at, I am so sorry. Let me re-educate you. And what I really want to do is listen to, how did you get here? How long have you taught? How long have you been unsupported? And I'm sorry, and I love you. And tell me your story. Because I don't care who you are, you're still a student. If you're a 61-year-old, 30-year teacher, and you're tired and you're grumpy and you hate new lesson plans, I want to hear your story, because I want to remind you of why you started doing this in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus the 21-year-old teacher that is so overly zealous that she can't get off of her Pinterest page about how good of her Pinterest board looks, to where her bulletin board has little socks that you can slip your note in. Oh my God, I don't care about any of that crap. Tell me, why are you doing this? That's what I want to really know. And then once we can access that, if your students don't know that, let's start there.
That ties so much into our second course, right? The stories we live by, and how coming to understand and tell your story in a meaningful way helps you find where you're getting hung up and where that energy might be trapped or misdirected.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and you holding space for people's stories is such a powerful way to educate.
And really, so that education came through being a social media influencer. Like it's weird. It's that's now like a profession of mine is odd because I'm really just like, whatever. But like now I have to like study the trends and the insights and the analytics of what's happening in like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all these things. Like I do want to learn. I don't want to be uneducated with what I'm doing. It is my platform, and I'm telling you, what's dying is the superficial Instagram influencers of old that take these plastic pictures and call it reality. That's not working anymore. It's not trending. Nobody cares. And people are swiping quickly. What is working is low budget, terrible filmography, reality, people with no makeup and just telling their story. That is blowing up all over social media right now. And it's because the human nature is craving truth. We're craving humanity. We're craving authenticity. Think about how long it's been that we've lived our life by staring at a screen. And our education and our parenting and our humanity is coming through a 4.5-inch screen. I have nothing against that. I make my living through that. I'm not talking ill of that. I'm just saying now the trending is saying, how can we make this 4.5-inch screen human? And so the more human you can get on that screen, the more influential you will be. And that comes down to the essential question, what is your story?
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to, is it starting with TikTok, or will it reverberate through social media? Because social media has not turned out to be all the great things we thought it might, right? It's brought a lot of negativity with it. And do you see this as maybe the start of the turn? Flows. Yeah.
I think like anything else, it's got, strikes and gutters, man. So yeah, it does have negative, but like, look what it's done for me. You know what I mean? So it's literally been the exact opposite experience for me. But I didn't come to it trying to combat, or I didn't come to it trying to say, you're destroying the lives of our youth. I didn't say any of that. I just said, here's a platform. What if we did this better? Just like I did with the essay 2 years ago. Here's a platform. What if we just did this better? Like, let's not hate on any of the things. Let's not hate at all. Let's just take whatever there is and put humanity and truth and empathy in there. If we did that, I don't give a flying shit what the thing it is. I don't care if it's Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I don't fucking care. What I care about is the human on the other side. And if this little screen connects me to a human, then awesome. Thank you.
Connection is such an essential ingredient for human development and growth. That's something we talk about a lot at the Leader Lab. And the science points to that we need that connection. So I think it's fantastic that you've really dialed in on that.
Well, and it's also why I'm going to the school as opposed to just like virtually connecting and sending them things. I want them to shake my hand. I want them to feel my passion. I want to look at the students and their faces and say, I love you and I'm here for you. And there's a whole community behind you that cares enough to feed and to clothe and to take care of you exactly as you are. And sometimes you gotta cross past the screen to prove the truth. Does that make any sense? And so now that I have this opportunity, I'm not gonna squander that. I'm going to go.
And Amanda brought up earlier, so, once you're clear in your intention, which you clearly are, and you articulate that very well, what it's all about for you, then you've got to have the energy behind it, and I feel that as well. And my question is, do you have practices you use to keep that energy up, or are you just like this all the time? I mean, it's 7:30 at night now for you, and still going.
Oh, I'm just getting started, bro. I'm just getting started. So honestly, it's so funny you said this. I love this question. I was actually just talking about this with my therapist the other day. She was showing me this, this energy wavelength chart. And like really at the top of it, I should quote the source if I knew it. I'm so sorry. But like she was showing me that the highest three vibrations of energy in this universe are freedom, bliss, and love. Well, that's literally the cornerstones of my entire platform. Like, it's just wild. The life that I live cares more about those three things than anything else. I just truly love people. Like, truly. Not like romantic, blah, 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 but like actual, like, no, I love you as a human being enough to know you as a human being. And I don't want any kind of chain on me at all. I don't need your paycheck. It feels like a chain to me. I don't want a mortgage. It feels like a chain to me. I don't want a ring. It feels like a chain to me. I don't want any of these things. They scare me and they make me feel like no, I need that freedom. And when you operate in freedom, not like America freedom, but like real freedom, it's like, oh my goodness. And then when you show how happy you are, bliss, freedom, and love, energy abounds. So I never get tired. You know what I mean? Like I'm not tired of this. I love every single moment that I'm breathing. You know what I'm saying? So like, why would I want to stop anything? I mean, I parlay, like I also am a dad and I want to give all of those three things to my children as opposed to my business. And, I care very deeply about putting them in the right spot. That's just responsibility, but I mean, like, it's just a wild question. And so that's where my energy comes from. It's just kind of, my energy comes from who I am. Because if you would have talked to me 5 years ago when I was like, miserable and suffering through depression and very overweight and like could barely sleep and was suffering from a lot of things, it was because I had a ton of chains on me. It was because I feel like I couldn't love as freely as I wanted to. It was because I didn't feel happy when I was waking up. And like I was miserable and did not have any near this kind of energy.
So what I'm hearing is the energy flows pretty continuously because you don't allow anything to stop it. You don't allow anything to hold you back.
Well, there's just nothing in my life that does. And
yeah,
even
and
if it, like,
but
if
that
it,
takes
if it,
some. That takes some.
well, yeah, it just feels like a foreign substance. Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, you can just like, it's a foreign substance. Like when someone's like super negative or like complainy or like, I'm like, ooh, like why? Like, don't, ooh, like, sorry, bro. I don't got time for that shit. I'm doing all of this awesome stuff. So like there's a thing of like empathy of like, dude, I'm so sorry. I love you. I wish there was something I could do. Well, life's just like, and then it's like, oh, ooh, all right, bro. I literally don't have time for that. Like, if you ever want to like think about the good stuff and want to have good, happy conversations, I'm so with you. But I don't have time for that. Like, I want to listen to your story, but I don't want to participate in your story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. All right. Let's see, which question should we move to? 5?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So let's shift a little bit let's talk about what you view as the parent's role in ensuring a quality of education. Do you see enough
I would
parental
use the word
support or?
No. But I blame that on systemic educational problems. My role, like if you ask me like personally, what do I think the parent's role is? I would call it the primary role. You are your number one educator to your child. Number one. And everything else is like tertiary at best. Like a teacher? No. Okay, it depends on the age. If they're younger than 8, their primary teacher that they care the most about is their parent. If they're in adolescence, like from like 9 to about 20, then their primary teacher are their peers. And secondary would be parents, depending on the relationship. And then tertiary at best would be a teacher. Teachers are so low on the totem pole of how students learn. And only do you get higher if they start replacing you in those roles. Like if they think of you as a peer, then you'll be their number one. If they think of you as a parent, then they'll be their number 2. You know what I mean? You just have to think of like their mental state at that point. So like that's what I'm saying. Like the parental role should be primary up until about 9 or 10 years old, and then it should be probably secondary. You become more of a support of their peers.
That's wonderful. I think it's important that we're talking about this intent, this energy, this passion that we bring for caring for the children in our lives. We need to make sure that that we're giving our parental responsibilities like top billing there, because I think you're absolutely right about parental influence.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fantastic.
It's a shame that we don't have the system that allows that. The system that we have kind of forces dual income families, because I don't want a parent listening, well, I wish I can't stay home with my kid. I know. And I don't, and to whoever's feeling like that, I'm sorry. That's not right. But I do know, and it's not your fault. You know, like this is the statement of what it's like living in middle class America. Like, I am so sorry that things are the way they are. And if I had an answer, I'd give it to you. It doesn't mean that what I'm not saying is correct. It just means that I know that it's next to impossible, which is why we are failing massively in the world of education with students.
So you've got a lot of followers. You've had them for a little while now. Do you find that they are they asking you for help to move in this direction? Are they trying to emulate you? Do you get feedback of, oh, that was a great idea, I tried it out, if other people tried the essay thing that you did?
Oh man. Yes, I get lots of feedback. And the truth is, like, this brings me back to before we even started talking and you were talking about my team. I'll be honest, like, once it got really heavy, once it got like over 75,000, and that's not even close to the over 500,000 that I'm at now, but like, can you imagine what those direct messages look like? I mean, when you have 75,000 people, like, the comments are one thing, but the random direct messages that people bring to me, it is terrifying. And it can be great, but most of the time it's pretty angry. People really feel confident with their anger when they have anonymity. And coming from a guy that wears a mohawk and paints his nails, like, they've got a lot of things to say about a guy like me without even listening to what I'm saying yet. They look at me and think the worst of things. And so, like, the hate, the anger, the backlash is it's more than any human could bear. And it took me to a pretty dark place about 4 months in. I was reading suicide notes from teens. I was reading coming out letters from 12-year-olds. I was reading identity problems of 9-year-olds. I was reading parents who were losing their children. I was reading some of the most disturbing things in the world coming to me from all over the world, just via an email or a message on Instagram. Like, the things that I was putting into me were terrifying. And my therapist at that time was just like, you can't do that. You're taking in too much, and it's too much. It's going to bring you down. You're going to empathize and care, and then you're going to participate in that negativity, and you can't do that. So then it was just like, can I get some help? And once I asked that question, well, then people started showing up, and then it was nice to kind of like filter, like, no, it's not just me. We're a team. And so a lot of people get mad, like, when my team will reach out on behalf of me. They're like, no, I wanted to talk to him. And then they'll be like, well, awesome, we can do that. Tell me why. Like, of course, he wants to talk to you. Just tell me why. And so a lot of times, like, people will get to my team, but a lot of times they'll get directly to me. And it's just nice to have that kind of filtration system, if you will. Like, I have a whole communications department that, like, really helps me with that. And it's nice because I don't want people to feel lost. I want people to feel like they can connect to Punk Rock Teacher when, like you said, they have a great idea, or when they have some positive feedback, or when they want to share a beautiful story, or if they want to join our Writers Guild, if they want to join a part of the Patreon and become like a financial subscriber. Like there's people that really want to do good things. And I don't want to miss that message. But at the same time, I can't comb through thousands of messages a day. I could never do that. So I have people that help me with that.
That's wonderful. I'm glad that you got that support.
And I'm really glad. I'm really glad we were able to get through with you directly. That through Amanda's request, you saw that we were really interested. And believe it or not, we've pretty much used up our time.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us out?
Sure.
Your guest?
So I want to just make sure that all of our listeners know where they can find you and how they can support the pantry. So yeah, just where can they find you?
So first of all, everything is done through social media. I mean, I do have a website, but it's very simple to find me. Like go through TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, whatever is your preferential social media. On Facebook, I'm Aaron Leatherbarrow. On TikTok, I'm Punk Rock Teacher. On Instagram, I'm Punk Rock Teacher Official. But if you Google Punk Rock Teacher, you're gonna find me. And when you find that, like, there's tons of opportunities. Go to the link that I post on everything, and you'll see ways to donate to the cause, which of course we definitely need. All of these schools need to be financially supported. So like if that's something you're interested in, there's one-time gifts that you can, as a nonprofit, we can be tax deductible. There's also the thing that means the most to me is what's called the Punk Rock Pantry or Patreon. And like these are people that like support the cause monthly. We have over 100 subscribers and they're basically like family to me. They talk to me literally every single day. I send messages, personal messages to these people every single day, because these are people that have done more than just followed and done more than just shared, but said, no, I'm investing into the initiative that is going to take care of students. And what I care most about is be a part of that. If you can join the Punk Rock Teacher Patreon, it is a beautiful, beautiful community of people, and it gives you direct access to everything that I do, and it's so phenomenal. But not only that, really what it just comes down to is like, just don't be a listener. Take the next step. Go take the next step. It's a very small step, but more people need to take that step. How can I be a part of it? It's very easy. As an influencer, it's as simple as a share. As a nonprofit, it's as simple as a Patreon. It's that simple. And so I just hope that anybody that hears this is not thinking, oh, what a great story. Well, okay. If it's that great of a story, take the next step, because community and support is how we're capable of doing all of these things.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you joining us. We appreciate everything that you're doing for the students. Your mission's very inspiring.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So everybody, this has been Mind and Body at Work, and we've had Aaron Leatherbarrow with us today. We will see you next time.